You know what I hope? I hope that if nothing else good comes from this show, at least you're like, damn, he plays some really good intro music. That's what I hope. Greetings, welcome back to Disenthrall. I will be Patrick Smith for the next couple hours. Today, we have special guest, Ben, all the way from Australia. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you for having me, Patrick. Pleasure to be here.
This is a show that I've actually been wanting to have for a long time with Ben. I met him probably a couple years ago now. He started out as a viewer of Disenthrall. He was a very active participant in our Discord server. He played a role in the Doorbell Bombs episode that we did a long time ago, and we had a lot of fun with Ben here. He even has one of the coveted role of Ann Capistani on our Discord server because, you know, he went out of he spent a lot of time working on the edgiest of edge cases for the non-aggression principle. So it's cool to have you. Because like over time as we talk and as I watch the world progress and I see what you've been up to over the past, I don't know, what's it been, like 9 months or a year now that you've been working on your Facebook page, which we'll get to in a moment. It seems like, man, Australia is going to a bad place lately. And so I wanted to bring you on, and I wanted to like get a state of the nation, state of affairs in Aussie land. And you know, I've got my frothy in the most Australian cup possible. This is like a mason jar with stand on it. So I'm going classy for the Aussie talk. Yeah. So welcome to the show. It's good to talk to you. I'm excited about this conversation. Yeah, how you been? How you doing?
Yeah, really good. Hey, it's coming into summer at the moment, so like it's really, really hot. Pretty much where we live, we got like bushfires going on, but nothing compared to New South Wales, which is the state below us, where like most of the state's getting obliterated right now with bushfires. People are losing their homes. People have lost their lives and stuff. So yeah, it's
oh,
bad,
man.
like in terms of stuff. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Wow. Yeah, one of those guys, this is Ben. He's the Aussie from Aussie land, and he's going to kind of talk us through some goings-on, the state of freedom and liberty and voluntarism in Australia today. So welcome to the stream. We're just going to hang out, drink our frothies, and, you know, just try not to crap all over Australian culture. So let's begin with, what'd you say?
No, I was just going to say that cup, not very Aussie, mate. It looks more like, no, that's not Aussie. No Aussie would use that.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, it was the most like redneck thing I could find. And like, so this is like Texas redneck. This is like trying to be as classy as possible while also drinking out of a mason jar. And I always hear that like the Aussies are like the Texans of the world or something. So I thought this would fit. Apparently that was a fail. It's like Texans without guns or something. Is that a good representation of Aussie land? Or
without guns, and yeah, who enjoy the state a little bit too much. So yeah.
Roger that. So, you were very active on our Discord server for a long time, and then you kind of evaporated. You disappeared totally because you got involved with a pretty cool project that appears to be blowing up in the best ways possible in Australia. Thanks for the subscription, sir. Appreciate it. And so let's just start by telling you about that. It's a Facebook page, and I'll just take it from there. What's the name of your Facebook page, and what you've been up to with that?
So we, the page is called "The Australian Government Can't Prove That It Exists," and so, like about a year ago or so, it came up in like my suggested kind of like Facebook and stuff, and I clicked on it, thinking it was probably going to be like some kind of sovereign citizen thing or something weird like that. But as it turns out, it's a voluntarist page or anarchist page where it was exposed spouting like voluntarist principles. And so I post on there a lot, and I'd send like Aussie stories and stuff through to the ad, whose name who's now my friend Kevin Rogers. And And so after like a couple months and stuff, I added him to our little group chat and stuff, which is called the ANCAP Cavalry. And so that's basically like a little online Facebook group chat that has a bunch of voluntarists in there. And so if one of us is debating a statist and then they need some assistance because there's, like hundreds of statists and stuff on some kind of status page, we'll come along and give them a hand, right? And so basically what ended up happening was Kev got a 3-day banning for posting a anti-Hitler, which was like pointing out, of course, like how evil Hitler was, and he ended up getting a 3-day ban. And so I said to Kev, hey man, why don't you just add me and Cam as your 2 other page admins? So that way, then if you get a Zuck again, we can keep the content going. Otherwise, the page is basically dead for however long your Zuck is, right, on your personal page. So he said, yeah, sure, man. When he got unzucked, added me and Cam to the page as admins. And yeah, ever since then, we've been posting voluntarist content, Australian-related voluntarist content, but also a fair bit of US voluntarist content and US statism, because like Australia basically is a lapdog to the US. Whatever you guys do, we follow, whether it be warmongering, whether it be the war on drugs. Yeah, basically like what you guys do massively affects Australia because we just follow you guys everywhere. And so, yeah, that's basically like how I got into it. And the page when I came on board had 2,000 or so followers and likes. And over the next like 9 months and stuff, like the page has just blown up. We've had a couple incredible posts that have gone to 1 million post reach and stuff. And we're averaging 500,000 post reach a month. Yeah. I think because the name of the page is so controversial, because it's like, what do you mean the government can't prove it exists? I know it exists. Like, I vote for them and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they're my politicians. Of course they exist, right? And so it's kind of like almost like a stab at them, at their ideas or preconceived notions before you begin, and it draws them in. So, yeah, now up to 10,500 followers and likes. And yeah, that's kind of consumed all my spare time, because of how much the page has grown and how many people are getting commenting on all of our stuff. So, yeah.
Now, I know you have the largest voluntarist, anarcho-capitalist page in Australia, but are there any others? Is there any other groups on any of the platforms doing what you do, or are you kind of like the bastion of hope for that entire country at this point?
When it comes to actually principled liberty, no. There's like, see, the closest we have to the Australian like Libertarian Party is what's called the Liberal Democrats, and those guys are just status light. And they have kind of like an offshoot, which is Australian Liberty For, and that is just chock full of statists. And they've only got like 4,000 members, so we've got more than double their membership base already, like 2.5 times and stuff. But they're a lot of statism, trying to use the government to fix the government, trying to implement laws against like fully automatic weapons, so forth and stuff. So there's a lot of statism. But yeah, no other page that we found in Australia actually puts out principled, consistent positions, basically, ethical positions. So no, we are the biggest and only one.
Well, I mean, it's sad that you're the only one, but it's also awesome for you to get to be the one of the few people that can go down in the history of the country as actually the one calling for freedom, maybe for the first time ever. So that's awesome. Can you? So I am, of course, well indoctrinated into the American lore of how this country came to be. Can you give us a really quick, like, how did Australia come to be, and how, because every country has their own kind of mythology as to where their government derives its just powers from. What is that? What is Australia's?
So basically Australia, if you're looking at like, say, when white men came to Australia, right, i.e. like Europeans, Captain James Cook came over, settled Australia, whereas before that we had Aboriginals, which were about 40,000 years or so before that. But in terms of like what we consider Australia today, a couple hundred years, I think it was 1778 or something. There's my indoctrination at school failing me. But somewhere around that time period, like 1788 or something, Australia was founded and was actually founded as a penal colony for the Brits. So basically, if you were, say, a naughty Brit who committed some exceedingly minor crime, whether it be a victim-based crime or a victimless crime, we're talking like more minor stuff. You were sent on a boat from the UK right the way down to Australia. And we were founded as a penal colony. And we kind of still are a penal colony. That hasn't gone well. But yeah, so we've been a country now for a couple hundred years. And then we had our constitution, which I suppose all good countries need is your constitution, which was written in 1901. And this is where like a lot of, like, you guys have your mythology around the constitution, like big time. We don't have it as much because we're not kind of taught it in schools and stuff. Whereas you guys go and get pushed down your throats, Declaration of Independence. I know more about the US Constitution than I do about the Australian Constitution. But it was written by like the ruling class, obviously, in 1901, gave the politicians the right to violate your rights, steal your money, take your property, all that good stuff, right? Through somehow, basically the way that they describe it is that the Queen is our head of state, right? So the Queen is obviously the Queen of England. And so she got the power from God somehow.
Well, that's where I get my power.
Years ago. Yes. So we even had a guy argue because her ancient ancestors pulled a sword from a stone. She has the right to rule me today. And I'm like, yep, seems legit. Yep, you have the right to rule me because your ancestor pulled a mythical sword from a stone and God told you you can rule or something. So that's basically how our constitution happened. The Queen's the head of state, and she can actually kick out our prime ministers and stuff if she wants to. And yeah, then we have obviously like your standard folks and democracy side on top of that. So that's basically like a brief history of the Constitution, which is obviously still a slave document, all the way through to now. But then people will argue, and this is where in Australia it gets interesting. People will argue that the Australian Constitution got overthrown in pick a year. Some of them are like it was overthrown in the 20s, 40s, 70s by whoever, right? And now we got a corporate government. It's obviously still the same nonsensical stuff. The 1901 Constitution still works through democracy, still works through the violation of individual rights by the majority. It doesn't protect the right. And yeah, that's basically where we are now.
I was trying to find that Monty Python quote. It's like, you can't expect to wield supreme executive power just because some watery tart threw a sword at you. I forgot, like that stuff was that actually part of like the history, or was that just some superstition, like the sword and the sword and the stone thing?
I'm not entirely sure if it's fact or if it is fiction, but a lot of they say that the Australian Constitution came from the Magna Carta, right, which was written in some centuries ago. But the people don't realize that it was written by barons, which are basically a ruling class anyway, right, to the king. And it's like, see, again, you're appealing to the authority of the king and you're still advocating for a ruling class. It still violated individual rights. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting nowhere. You're asking the ruling class to reduce its power over you. So, but like the king stuff does come God. I can confirm, like, kings and queens in Australia are believed to have the right to rule from God himself.
I was just, I was working on, I'm 2/3 of the way done with Larkin Rose's Dangerous Superstition audiobook. And like right before we started this call, I was recording on it and I had just got to the part of the book where he was talking about exactly what you're saying. If there's anybody out there that hasn't read The Most Dangerous Superstition yet, it's not that long of a book, but it is one of the best books in existence. That's an interesting question. Do you guys have any, founding fathers is the wrong word, but like old dead people that wrote really good things towards liberty? Like, you know, we have Lysander Spooner, you know, we have some of the like Federalist paper stuff some of it was pretty good. Anti-Federalist stuff some of it was pretty good. So do you guys have figures like that in your history? And are there any prominent ones that are worth talking about in terms of voluntarism?
So quickly shout out to obviously guys like Lysander Spooner. We use his work a lot to debunk not only the US Constitution when we get a lot of US people come on our page. Our second biggest demographic is actually people from the US. But we also use like his work to debunk the Australian Constitution because both of them apply, right? The logic behind no treason, the Constitution of no authority applies to every constitution ever written in history. And obviously, yeah, shout out to Lack and Rose and stuff. He's actually the guy who showed me the logic of voluntarism. I was like, all that indoctrination in school wasted. God damn it.
That stings, doesn't it?
12 years of indoctrination, and now you've just had 12 years of indoctrination destroyed by one question. You're like, well, damn.
Oops.
All those years of academy.
Yeah. So, I mean, can you dive into that just a little bit? Like, when I read Constitution of No Authority, it makes arguments like, I don't know, at most only 10% of the population had the ability to consent to such a document, even though practically, obviously, only, a handful of people did. How does that apply to the Constitution of Australia? I literally know nothing. I'm an uncultured #American.
Okay, I did dodge your question before about Australian rights for liberty.
Yeah.
Not really. We nothing which we got taught in schools or anything had anything to do with like liberty, freedom, anything like that. So yeah, I unfortunately no. Whereas like obviously with you guys in the US and stuff, the founding fathers, some of them were bordering on voluntarists and stuff, and so we see their quotes a lot, and we use the quotes about like the slaves with his chain and stuff, right? May they rest lightly upon you. We use a lot of the stuff to defend, say, like gun rights and everything. But in terms of Australian ones, unfortunately not. We've always been a colony. Yeah. So what's the second part of your question again?
I was asking how you apply like Spooner's arguments against the American Constitution to the Australian one.
Yep. So basically, when the Australian Constitution came in, the people were given a choice, a free choice, between remaining under the Crown completely, right, i.e. like colony of the Crown. We still are, but I meant like you're still kind of ruled by the Brits, or you become your own country. And so that's obviously not a free choice, right? Like either be ruled by this guy or ruled by this guy. I mean, you're still being ruled, right? But in terms of who could actually vote on that, like Aboriginals who were the original people in Australia, they couldn't vote. I think women could maybe only vote in 1 or 2 states. I'd have to check that. But in the rest of the states, they couldn't vote. So they didn't have any choice. I'm pretty sure that like non-landowners weren't given the option. Obviously, I don't think we probably had permanent residents or anything, so they probably weren't given the option. So basically, when we've talked about this on our page before, very, very, very small percentage. And I obviously like coloured people and stuff, they weren't allowed either. But because we still had the White Australia policy in it, so a very small amount of Australians could actually vote this choice, which was to be ruled by the Queen, or to be ruled by the Queen, but with an Australian kind of government. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. So it seems like there's actually a lot of similarities, which is, I mean, it's fascinating. Like when I was young and in high school and dating. It was the Australian accent that was one of my favorites, and I always wanted to go to Australia and find a wife and do all that stuff. So I'm a fan of the country, at least I can't even say that. I'm a fan of the impression that Americans have of Australia, because I think our media portrays Australia very different than what it probably actually is. So I probably know nothing about the country actually. So I'm still in like the Crocodile Dundee kind of era of like rough and tumble cowboy Australia, doesn't take any shit, defends the virtuous and that kind of thing. What would you say, like if you had to do the impossible, which would be to like categorize the state of the country, what would you say the state of the country is?
Well, so we're not as divided as America. We were talking about before, like
Vegemite
politicians
is amazing.
in the
Fight me.
States are hero worshipped. Like you see that with Trump and stuff, whereas in Australia, because the prime minister is chosen by the parties, we have party worship down here. So the party worship and stuff. Our main two political parties are Liberals, which are basically like your Republicans, Democrats, which for us are Labour, right? So Labour's left, Liberals right, so forth. Then we have like a couple minor parties. You have the Greens, also known as the Watermelon Party, because they're green on the outside and red on the inside. They're commies, but you can't call yourself a commie because, well, you know, the 100 million dead and all that bad stuff, baggage that goes along with it.
Kind of hard on the PR department.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a lot of bodies to sweep underneath the rug. Like, that takes a lot of PR work.
Yeah.
But like in terms of the state of Australia, like politically, we've currently got the Liberal government in power nationally. Then we have all the different state governments, and then we have councils, which like municipalities or something, maybe in the US or whatever that is to confer across. But yeah, like it's still very statist, and our Liberal Party, who's in power, is basically almost identical to the Labor Party, which is not in power, which is still high taxes, lots of regulation, government interference in every single sector of the market, bipartisanship with the war on drugs, like warmongering and stuff like that, right all across the globe. So yeah, it's not good, and the average Australian citizen is very, very much indoctrinated. At 12 years of like mandatory schooling, you can drop out, I think, after 10, but they do a really good job of indoctrinating. So a lot of Australians here adore and have been like, and you guys have probably had this in debates and stuff before, where you have the Australians come out and go, Australia has the best healthcare system in the world, and it's all free, and you know what I mean? Australia has no guns, and we're safe as, you know what I mean? So you get all these like stereotypes, and that's true, obviously. But Australians have been kind of taught that, I mean, all countries do it, obviously. Like the amount of people we debate from the US who is like, the US is the freest country on earth, and you're like, have you even checked the rankings? You're not even in the top 10. So we get kind of pushed Australian exceptionalism with government, right? With the good the government does. So yeah, it can be hard to break through that indoctrination.
So I was looking up freedom indexes, and so apparently you're good because you have full democracy. So thumbs up for full democracy. Your freedom of the press is satisfactory, so you're in the green there. And let's see, economic freedom, free. So not quite green, but free. And just overall ranking in the world, you have the check mark of freedom. So I don't know what the fuck you're complaining about, sir. Like what's all this noise?
Well, I guess I'm not being a good slave. Hey, I should get back to the cotton fields and pick Messer's cotton and not complain at all. I'm sorry about that. I gotta go. Yeah. I'm sorry, master.
So Jim Jesus, thanks for the $2. He says Vegemite is amazing. Fight me. What do you think of Vegemite? That's an important question, actually.
Personally, I'm a celiac. Can't have Vegemite made from wheat. So
you're exempt from the question then. All right. So let's just go down some categories of freedom and compare. So let's start with guns, because that's the most important one. What's the status of guns in Australia?
So guns are seen as a need, like in terms of you have to prove to the state why you would need one. So they're as far from a right as you can humanly get. We don't have anything like the Second Amendment, which still doesn't grant you the right. You know what I mean? Like, we have no piece of paper to point at to the state and go, look here, even your own rules say we have the right to own a gun. Basically, after the Port Arthur massacre, which is actually one of our most popular posts, where we ever post to the Australian government can't prove that it exists. The Howard government at the time, which is Liberals, which is like your Republicans, came along and banned all semi-automatic weapons just off the bat. Anybody who might have had a fully auto, they're gone too. Anything that looked like a gun, like, so you guys obviously in the States have airsoft. They're banned completely. You can't get an airsoft gun. Airsoft guns are treated the same as a machine gun. So say you have an M249 airsoft gun in Australia, that's treated as an M249 machine gun. Your ammunition, so the BBs for them, 6mm BBs, they're treated as ammunition. So you're being done for
airsoft pellets, which are less damaging than BBs, are treated like actual ammunition, and the guns are treated like machine guns.
Yeah, when I was 17, I came back from Sweden, and at this point I was not an anarchist, and I brought back some airsoft BBs to show the fam. And yeah, they got seized, and I got a good yelling at by the border security dude and stuff. They're plastic ball, yeah, 6mm plastic ball. They're banned in Australia. Anything that looks kind of like so it's called appearance laws, and I'll get into it in a bit more. But in Queensland, that got overturned for gel soft, right? So gel soft was China's workaround for airsoft, right? Because China's banned airsoft. So what they did was they made basically like little gel balls that look like an airsoft BB, and for the guns, which look like real guns, but they fire the pieces of gel. And so they got ruled as a water gun, like, because they shoot gel, which is water. So we're allowed to have them now. But obviously they're not as good as airsoft, but they're illegal in New South Wales, the state below me. So yeah, Patrick's bringing up some images of, yeah, basically that's like a gel ball. There's lots of different terms for them and stuff, but yes. So if you type in gel ball, Patrick, so you can show gel ball. So I actually play gel ball a lot. A lot. Type in gel ball gun. You did?
No. DuckDuckGo's failing us right now. There we go.
Hey. Yeah. So that is an example. So that's legal in Queensland and South Australia only. Everywhere else, you're going to gel. That's a real gun. Even
they treat it like a real gun.
Like correct, absolutely. Yep, you're going for, and there's guys right now facing 5 years in jail per gun that they have. Absolutely. Yep. So when it comes to real guns, basically, unless you're a farmer or a sports shooter or someone who makes their living, say, shooting pests for the state, basically, you're not getting a gun. You need a legitimate reason. You can't get semi-autos. You can't get fully autos. So like a pump action is limited in terms of how many rounds you can have. Magazines can't be above. You can't have like generally magazine fed weapons down here. And you can only have them up, I think, at 5 rounds or something absurd. If you wanted to say like a gun for self-defense, absolutely not. You cannot have a gun for self-defense under any circumstances whatsoever. That's completely illegal, unless you're a cop, of course. Haha, double standard of morality. Yay. So yeah, basically it's pretty hard down here. Most of it's bolt action, a few lever actions floating around. And the states now are trying to limit access to, like, say, caliber weapons. So they're classifying these as very powerful weapons. So basically, like, so 408 Shaytech or something, that's not having that. They're cracking down on 50s and stuff. So I think like 338s they're okay with for now. But yeah, it's becoming more and more draconian as we go.
I mean, I've never heard of. I mean, how could it get worse? Like, they've pretty much banned everything, including children's toys. Can you do finger guns?
In schools, probably not. In everyday life, like if you're to like threaten someone, you probably get done for that too. But like the storage requirements are just as bad. So like you Yanks might be going, oh yeah, but I'll buy a gun anyway. Who gives a crap? And I'll defend myself, right? And you're like, obviously you're well within your right to do so. The issue becomes then that the police, as part of you being a lawful gun owner, can do random inspections whenever they want. And so you have to have your gun stored in one safe with no ammunition, unloaded, obviously, right? And then you have to get a different safe to store your ammunition. So the ammunition cannot be stored in the same safe. So say someone was to break into your house at 2 a.m. You have to run to your safe, open one safe, get your gun out, go to the other safe, get your ammunition out, get the ammunition, chuck it in the mag, or you really don't get mags and stuff, but say chuck it in, charge the weapon, and now you can defend yourself. But then you're still got to jail for defending yourself. So it's not so great.
Which will get us to the story that I initially contacted you to ask you if you wanted to come on for. We'll get to that in a moment. But I think you buried the lead in what you just said. Did you say that if you own a firearm that is actually still legal by some tiny exception to some rule or whatever, that police have the right to search your home whenever they want?
So they have to inspect where the gun safe is, right? Now, will the police actually just search the one place? But do they have the legal right to come into your home and ensure that your weapon is being stored correctly? Yes. Yes.
So if a cop wants inside your house, all he has to know is that you have a firearm in the registry or something, and he can be like, oh, he's a firearm owner, I want to inspect his firearm storage, and then he can literally just walk into your home?
Yes. So, but as long as the person who owns the gun is there, right? So, yeah, it's bad. So say
I can barely imagine it being worse than that. I mean, that's terrifying. Wow.
Yes. So say you're a college dude and stuff, or you're poor and you live in mates and stuff, and one of you has a gun. If the cops knock on your door and you're the one who owns the gun and you're out and your mates know how to get into the gun safe, you're all gone, right? You lose your right to own guns and stuff and you're being hauled off to jail. So only the person who owns the gun can be there with the gun and stuff when they inspect it, basically. So that's kind of like another requirement which they have. But it's not obviously like a very good requirement, because there goes, obviously for you Yanks, your Fourth Amendment against unreasonable search and seizures. You don't get that. So yeah, Australia is pretty bad when it comes to gun freedom.
Wow. Okay, well, we started with the most important one because it protects all the others, and seeing as how that has been completely destroyed where you live, I don't have much high hopes for any of the other categories of freedom, but I guess we can run down them real quick. Do you have a freedom of speech?
No. So, is it... Okay, let me...
All right. Go ahead.
Let me go into a bit more detail. Is it enshrined in law like you'd have with, say, the First Amendment? No. So what they claim is that you have an implied right to freedom of speech, but it's implied. But then they also have lots of laws and stuff that criminalizes speech. So there was a big debate in Australia a while ago about what's called 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act. So if you can bring that up for your viewers so they can see 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act, it basically outlaws speech that is like threatening, and there's three other ones. But it's like offensive, or what's the other one? So yeah, when Patrick brings it up, it outlaws the speech that's designed to be offensive, right? And he's got it on screen now, which is good.
It is unlawful for a person to do an act otherwise than in private if the act is reasonably likely to offend, insult, humiliate, or intimidate another person or group of people. So you can't meme there is what that means. Like, memes are off the table. The act is done because of race, color, national, ethnic origin, or of some of or all of the people in the group. Wow.
Yeah.
That's an anti-First Amendment.
Yes. So it's basically broadly applied to people who say things that the state doesn't like. And of course, like, the law is beyond absurd. It has been used to target, say, like, journalists as well. And one of the politicians who is a member of the Liberal Democrats Party, he is a libertarian, right? And he obviously pointed out the absurdity of such a law, and actually tried to take someone to court for calling him an old white man, because that is definitely you're grouping a person by their race. You're then grouping them by their age, right? So you're insulting them and being discriminatory against them. So yeah, we don't have freedom of speech down here, like what you guys would say in the United States of America, and we also can't argue back to cops. We can't flip them off and stuff. We don't have that kind of protection that you guys do. Yeah, basically.
You can't argue with a cop? What do they charge you with if you argue with a cop?
Resisting. They do you for like following law orders and stuff.
Steven says, "Oh, okay. So you have freedom of speech as long as the government approves of what you say. That works. Okay, not a problem." Well, okay. What other freedoms are there? Freedom of the press. Is your press free of government control, or can the government censor the press?
So we have, thanks to the anti-terrorism laws, they can do you for big scandal went down stuff with journalists in Australia getting done posting things that the state didn't like, and like releasing them in terms of like leaks and stuff. And so they end up getting like the offices searched, their homes searched and stuff. So we don't have freedom of the press whatsoever, because you can obviously then go down on the freedom of speech laws with the 18C. But yeah, we've had press go down. But in Australia, we also have what's called the ABC, Australian Broadcasting Company, and so that is state-run. Okay, they say it's state-funded, right? And it gets all its money comes from the state, and it's like you're not going to be independent when your money comes from the state, right? Like, I mean, you bash the state, there goes your job, and that gets billions of dollars a year of taxpayer funding, of stolen loot, obviously. And so that's on like 24/7. So they have like so it's called ABC 24. That's the 24-hour-a-day news station down here. And so basically, it's kind of like government propaganda 24/7. So,
okay.
yeah. But obviously, then we have tons of regulations on the media and stuff, on publishing, all that stuff too. So yeah.
What about, well, let's do some of the liberal faux pas. Drugs, prostitution, and like gay marriage.
Cool. So we go, and that'll tie into you guys' Fourth Amendment, right, which would come into unreasonable searches and seizures and stuff as well, which they all are. But anyway, point is, so when we come to gay marriage, up until a couple years ago, it was illegal. And then we had a plebiscite, which is basically where we all got to go along to the polls and vote as to whether we allow two adults to enter into a contract with the state. I obviously did not vote in that because I don't care how many consenting adults get into a contract, and it sure as hell not be with the state, right? So if 50 people wanted to marry each other, right, be my guest, I don't really care, right? So I didn't vote in that, and people were like, well, so you're against gay marriage? And I'm like, there's more than two choices between yes, get the state involved, and no, they shouldn't be allowed to get married. And it was like a relatively close vote. I think it was like 60-40 or something. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, there was a huge, that actually got censored. Like, it was funny and stuff because the media was getting told, like, you can't come out and, like, you can't really post the no campaign because it's going to make gay people feel discriminated against and their love isn't worth the same as straight people's love and stuff. And so there was a huge argument about whether you could even have a no campaign against it, because then you'd offend gay people, lesbians, and like, you know, I mean, LGBTI community and stuff. And I mean, to me, like, it's absurd. It's like I said, I don't really care how many people you get involved in your contract. Do it voluntarily, baby, and you're right as rain. So that got passed, and now that's come into law. So finally, we've joined the 21st century where gay people also have to go to the state and beg their permission to get married. Yay, winning. And then when they come,
well, hold on. We just read your anti First Amendment says you can't offend anybody. So what happens when a gay couple gets married and offends like a religious conservative type? Like, can they, like, do the laws like self-detonate because they cancel each other out, or what happens? Or are only certain people allowed? Certain people are allowed to be offended. Is of course how it probably works, right?
Yeah, so that came out in a big thing and stuff because, of course, like the religious folk came out and said they're abominations and like all like. Then we have to have priests marry gay people and the priest will be against gay marriage and stuff, and they don't want to have to marry a gay person, so now you're forcing me. It's like, welcome to the state. Welcome to violation of consent. But that came up a lot with like the religious folk and stuff, as well as then it came into stuff like safe schools, right? Which I think you guys have something similar, but it's basically like teaching school children that LGBT people exist and that you don't have to identify as the same gender and stuff. And so then there was a big campaign against that, saying there's going to normalize gayness, I assume, like, again, stop getting involved in other people's lives. But the big thing that they pushed on is going to like normalize things like pedophilia. And it's going to normalize transitions of boys to girls, girls to boys, right? So gender reassignment and stuff. So that was like, that came out in it. And so the right in Parliament would then trying to come out and say, like, we need to incorporate protections for businesses who don't want to serve gays, right? Or, you know what I mean? And we don't have to teach them this and stuff at schools because I get to opt out because this is vile or grotesque or whatever. So that became another debate that offshoot.
Oh, so what you're saying is that you have Nazis in Australia, is what I just heard.
Yeah, basically, we're all Nazis. Who, yeah, it's pretty. It goes all down the rabbit holes and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, you can't discriminate. And that's the thing, is you can't like not serve someone who's gay. So you have to bake the cake, basically, for the US example. Bake the cake. So yeah.
Stephen says, "Are there drugs that make you accept this level of tyranny?" So are drugs legal there?
You're gonna go to a cage for a while. Yeah, it's not gonna go well for you. So marijuana is illegal across the entire country now. Canberra, which is like, so basically like our capital territory. So for you guys would be Washington. Imagine that. They just legalized the possession of I'm going to say 2 plants and 5 or 50 grams of weed. I think it was 5 maybe. But then the federal government came in and said, oh, no, you don't. And they're going to quash that stuff and go, no, you can't have marijuana at all. So marijuana's illegal. We finally in 2017 or 18 legalized hemp to be eaten. So you can now eat hemp. Yay, freedom. Which was step forward. Like all your other drugs and stuff, we followed the US down the drug war route. So things like steroids, you're going to jail for them. You're going to jail for like heroin, cocaine, ecstasy, mushrooms. You're going to jail for shroom. Basically, the only drugs that are legal down here are cigarettes, alcohol, and obviously your wonderful selection of healthy pharmaceutical drugs given to you by your doctor.
Necessarily so,
yeah.
Yes, of course.
I should add quickly so people know, medical marijuana is legal here. It's legal in name, right? The chances of you actually getting it are minuscule, right? Like, I mean, number one, it's absurdly expensive, right? Like, I'm talking ludicrously expensive. The number of doctors who can actually prescribe it are not very many, right? And you have to, as a doctor, you have to go through so much paperwork and stuff to try and get it prescribed. And there's only a small list of things you can actually get it prescribed for. So yeah, you're not even getting medical, and you're not getting it basically. Good, sorry.
Well, let's blast through. We're getting a lot of questions about this, that, and the other. Is it legal or not in Australia? And we could probably do this for another hour, but I want to go through them real quick. So give me like quick answers. Prostitution.
In some states, yes. In others, no.
Okay. Internet censorship of web pages, and I know that the video of the mosque shooting, I think, was censored completely. Right? Is that? Can you talk about that? Can you go to prison if you share a video or something?
Yep. Go to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $100. Go to jail. I've watched the video. Oh no, I've just missed it. Before they did that stuff on a different website. Use VPN, guys. And yeah, like they've censored that. That's completely gone. It's basically almost been memory hold and stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, no, that's you can't.
Well, I mean, go ahead. What?
You can't. I say sorry. You can't share it. Obviously, like yeah. So there's censorship of like of that.
So
Even though it's vile,
they treat it like an actual crime if you share a video. Like with prison time, they put you in a cage for sharing a video, is what I just heard.
I know New Zealand does, and we've actually posted on our page a couple of people from New Zealand currently cages for sharing it. Yes, in Australia, I don't think anybody's actually been done for it. I'm not entirely sure if it's straight up jailable or not. But I know in New Zealand where it happens. So basically, like to give you some idea, New Zealand and Australia is like Canada and America, right? Like you're right next to each other. You're basically brother and sister, right? You're almost the same country in some ways. Obviously, you have different laws and stuff. But New Zealand's like our little brother or sister, or however you want to describe it, right? And I've been to New Zealand, and it's basically like a smaller version and colder version of Australia. They like freedom a little bit more over there until their latest prime minister came in, and yeah, she's just gone full like jackboot. Freedom of speech gone. Freedom of guns gone. Like she's just gone ski. So she's put a whole line through.
I want to really quickly, because this brought it to mind, and I realize that most people don't know that this tool exists because it's primarily a tool. It's a file sharing piece of software, and it's primarily used by people in the InfoSec community, black hat, white hat, gray hat areas. So, be careful when using it because there's some nasty stuff on here. But this is a piece of software used by the InfoSec community to very securely share files with one another. So it's called Demon Saw, and it's been out for a while. It was created by a person that's pretty well known and trusted in the InfoSec community. And the people sending and receiving don't get anybody's information. Not even the server itself that connects everybody knows enough about what's going on for anything to be spied on. So if you need to share files or get access to files, check out Demon Saw. It's one word, Demon Saw. And and be careful, because like I said, things you download on there, they might not be safe always. So just know what you're doing. Anyway, moving on. Let's see what else we have. So we did drugs, we did prostitution, censorship. What else? I know we had a lot in here. Wow, the chat is flying, guys. I'm not keeping up. Okay, so let's just go on to the. Oh, there's even more. I'm still scrolling. Okay, I'm sorry if I missed something. If I missed something important, ask me again. I want to go into the reason why I invited you on the show today, because every once in a while when you're just scrolling through social media, something peaceful, easy feeling donated the $10. Thank you, sir. Good evening to you as well. Appreciate the donation, man. Oh, and remember, for people that want to donate, address at the top of the screen. If you use the streamlabs.com link instead of the YouTube Super Chats, we get most of the donation. If you use the YouTube Super Chats, Google literally takes 30%. Just letting you guys know for anybody else that wants to do Super Chats. So you're scrolling through your social media, and every once in a while, a story will just scroll by that just seems like so fucking absurd that you're like, this is fake news. This is Babylon Bee. This is a parody. This is horse shit. This is just, somebody's trolling. And this is what happened. So I will show you the headline. And we can go from there. So this is only a story, I think, that you're going to see in Australia, first of all, which is one of the reasons why I laughed and it just blew my mind. So I'll kind of read the headline and then I'll pitch it to you. Please tell us what happened and then what the government did about what happened. So the headline is, there was a knife attack in Sydney where a guy stabbed another guy in his stomach with a 20-centimeter blade. Hey, Google, 20 centimeters in inches.
20 centimeters is equal to 7.874 inches.
So an almost 8-inch blade pulled an 8-inch blade out of his own stomach and stabbed the guy that stabbed him to death. And then what happened? Take it from there.
So, like I was saying before, Australia's laws, self-defense, just a disgrace. You guys with your castle doctrines and your no due to back down, wherever that is, no due to retreat laws, won't even believe this and stuff. But what happened, basically, is the police then charged him with murder. But they decided then to downgrade it because they're really, really good guys and stuff. If you scroll down a little bit further, Patrick, you'll be able to find it just below the picture. It will say, where is it? He was initially charged with murder. Yesterday, he pled guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter. So, yeah, the police charged him with murder. They probably realized that they probably weren't going to get a murder conviction. And so, like what happens a lot in the States is you get given, obviously, the choice and stuff. Do you want to try and fight it and take life imprisonment as the person who defended themselves? Or do you want to plead guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter, cop, I don't know, 5 years in jail or something like that, right? Like, you kind of get that choice. And so Oakmate obviously decided to take the manslaughter charge, which will probably give him 5 years in jail or something.
So somebody stabbed a guy, and the guy did the most Australian thing I've ever heard of, pulled the knife out of his stomach and then stabbed the guy back and got charged with murder.
That is correct, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah. Holy shit.
That's Australia. Australia.
You're not protected. If you cannot defend yourself in the moment, you are not protected. In fact, if your government punishes you for protecting yourself in the moment, your government is part of the enemy. They are aiding enemies. They are aiding the guy that stabbed you when they attack you for defending yourself. That is insane. Like, I bet you made headlines all over your page with this story because it is such an unheard of level of insanity. You can make the case for ending the entire pony show that is the Australian government on that case alone. They don't protect you. They attack you for defending yourself. How did the story play out? Were people outraged, or or are they used to not being able to defend themselves? Like, how cucked, I guess I hate that word. How cucked are they there right now?
So even on our page, like our page has obviously like a lot of volunteerists and stuff. That's not the point. But the point is that even on the status pages who publish this news, so like as an example, 7 News, 9 News, ABC, like all of that, even on them, which is just chock-a-block full of status, even they were like, hang on a second, like this doesn't seem right. Surely you have the right to defend yourself. We did see the occasional bootlicker who would come in and say, why did he need to stab him 11 times? And you're like, yeah, because I'm pretty sure when old mate, yeah. It's like,
because he stabbed me. That's why I stabbed him 11 times. If you stab me, I'm going to stab you back. Oh my God. Oh my God.
So to give you more context of the story as well, because I did some more research into it too, so I could talk about it with knowledge. So the guy got stabbed in the stomach. You're like, oh, he just got a minor stab wound, right? It was just but a flesh wound, Python, right? This guy was so messed up from the stab wound to the gut, right? The victim. When he got to hospital, he actually had the people there like talking to him and stuff about end of life. Like this guy was like, you're going to die, son. You've just copped a 8-inch knife to the gut. So people come in and be like, dude, you're probably going to die and stuff. We probably need to arrange, with your next of kin and stuff. Right? So this guy has just got stabbed so bad he's on death's door. And we legitimately had status come on and say, why did he need to stab him 11 times? He could have just stabbed him once or twice and stuff. 11 times is overkill. No wonder it's manslaughter. And you're thinking to yourself, if you've just been stabbed so bad, you're probably going to die. Like, at that point, you're thinking, how do I ensure that this guy cannot end me right now? Like, how do I ensure that I can protect myself to the point where he is no longer a threat? Right?
And he's in jail now.
Yes. Yeah.
He's in prison right now. The guy should be like a movie star at this point. Like he's the new Crocodile Dundee. Like he's a badass. Like you pull a knife out of your stomach and kill your attacker. That's epic. I mean, it's just criminal, man. That's just criminal. So let's see. One of those guys asks, "Do you fear the wildlife or the government more?"
Easy. Yeah. So I will give you a couple other stories which will show you the insanity, because I found some, which shows you the insanity of Australia's self-defense laws, because I know you really want to cover that. And one of them, all your parents will hit really close to home and stuff, about defending your kids, and then you're on a jail kids. But in terms of, yeah, the wildlife down here isn't as bad as everybody makes it out to be. Like, you just don't touch snakes. Like, obviously, you don't touch spiders because, well, you don't touch spiders. If you swim in the ocean, you probably won't get attacked by a shark unless you swim at morning or night and you swim in a shark hotspot, which I don't actually live in a shark hotspot, so I'm pretty cruisy. I can swim whenever I want and wherever I want. But compared to the state, oh yeah, no. I've never been injured by an animal. I've been injured by the state. So yeah, that's... Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Real quick aside, Patriot Eek is taking me to task for having a Google device in my house. He says those devices are always listening. He even uninstalls Google Assistant from his phone. What most people probably don't know is that my career is in IT. I'm an IT entrepreneur. I've been a CTO for years. I'm heavily involved in info security. So let me just say that anything on my network is fully under my control and is monitored, especially devices like those. Nothing happens on those devices that I'm not aware of, and if things that are unexpected begin happening, I am alerted. I'll just leave it at that. I understand for most people that's probably a concern, but I actually did it as a test. I got one to monitor to see exactly what it was sending in and out of my house, and what I found, and what I've also read from other people that have looked at these devices, is that the Amazon what do you call them, Echoes, are significantly worse in terms of security. They've had a lot more breaches, and they're less privacy centric than the Google devices. And the Google ones that I've had in my house that have been heavily monitored and on lockdown don't seem to be problematic. And I will be alerted the moment they become problematic. Anyway, so is there? I don't want to just like talk crap about Australia the entire time. Like, what is good about your country? Like, what is there? Is there hope? Is there like, give me something. Like, your efforts on your page. Your page is blown up. You have 10,000 likes. You're talking to people constantly. Like, how's it going?
Yeah, so like that's completely blown up way faster than Kevin, who is the founder of the page. So shout out to Kevin for founding it. Cameron's admin 3 and I'm admin 2. That blew up way faster than we could ever have envisioned, and it's gone crazy. So like we get a lot of Aussies and stuff who may be like a minarchist, or full-blown statist. And then we obviously use the Socratic method to try and convert them across to a more consistent moral and logical position. And so, like, I tend to post more triggering things, right? So things that will cause someone to have a more emotional reaction. And then we can use the Socratic method on them from there. Whereas Kevin is more gentle and uses the Socratic method, and Cameron goes more down the natural law path. We're all voluntarists, but we all have our own style of getting people there. But yeah, we've been stunned with, there's a fair few voluntarists and stuff from Australia on our page. But in terms of like in the media and stuff, no, voluntarism isn't even there. Libertarianism is barely there. You're still seen as kind of like whack jobs because you're going against kind of like what they've been indoctrinated into their entire lives, which is the supremacy of Australian government. Policies and stuff, whether it be in healthcare, gun control, like obviously roads and stuff is a big one. But now we're seeing like the issues with fire response and stuff with half the state burning. We just posted it to our page. A homeowner got fined $1 million for putting in a fire break on his property. Obviously, you need to put in fire breaks and stuff to avoid the fire from getting over the break and then burning down your house. And so they've really restricted like the ability of homeowners to clear their land and stuff of trees and everything, so that way then their homes don't burn, which has led to an exacerbation of, say, fires. So yeah, but our page is going incredible. None of us could ever have envisioned like the fact we now have almost 1 million post views a month on the page, which for an Australian voluntarist page considering how small like the voluntarist and libertarian movement is down here, is we're stoked. We're very, very happy with that. And yeah, we get hundreds of interactions, like in terms of a day. So yeah, we're pretty hammered with that. Just trying to like deal with all the comments and stuff. Is there hope? Like, I mean, it's like saying, is there hope in America, right? Like, I mean, as we wake up more and more people, yes, because then those people wake up other people to the reality of what the state actually is. And so Kevin's goal when he started the page was just to wake up 3 people a year, because he watched Larkin's video where they were talking about if you wake up 3, then he wakes up 3, then wakes up 3 and stuff and so forth, compounds. Whereas, yeah, we're waking up a lot more than 3 people a year, which is fantastic. So
Awesome, man. That's really good stuff. If there is literally anything that we can do at Disenthrall to help you out, please reach out and let us know. What we do at Disenthrall is try and help other activists where we can in their activism. And well, you're the only one, but it sounds like you're the best hope for that for a lot of people in that area. So let us know if there's anything we can do.
yeah, we share your stuff. We tax your memes and stuff. So yeah, we love you guys. All 3 admins are a huge your page. So on our activism at the moment, generally online, but like when it comes to our elections, as we've talked about before, your pollies don't even bother to rock up. Like they just, why do I even bother rocking up to a voting booth? Whereas our pollies have to rock up to vote because voting is mandatory in Australia.
Oh,
mandatory.
Okay.
So fine. Yep. So if you don't vote, you get a fine. If you don't pay the fine, you know what happens with guns, cage. So yeah, our pollies have to rock up to the voting booths. And so whenever there's an election on, whether it be local, state or federal, I always go along to the polling booth and see if I can track down some politicians. And then you expose the violence that they advocate. And so we did a big series about that in the last Australian federal election, where I went and tracked down a bunch of pollies and stuff, interviewed them, and got them to advocate violence against me for having some plants in my pocket. So it kind of to the point where one of them actually assaulted, one of the politicians actually assaulted me because he got mad with my Socratic method of questioning.
We shared that video on Disenthrall from your page. Yeah, you have a couple of videos where you interact with some politicians, and they're pretty entertaining. So you guys should go, if you have the Zuck book pages, you should go check out their Facebook page and look for their videos. There's some pretty entertaining stuff there. I think let's see. I mean, somebody wants me to ask you about China, Australia. Is there something going on with China?
Yeah, so obviously, like a lot of Australians, like we have issues with people who dislike Muslims, who dislike Asians. Let's call them racists, shall we, and bigots. And so there are legitimate concerns about the Chinese government's influence on Australia when it comes to obviously like financial things, right? Because obviously China manipulates its currency really, really badly. They then can come in and buy up a lot of Australian land, and especially farming land, right? Through great government deals and stuff, which again is a government issue. But like you know what I mean? Like that's the thing with China, is it comes down to people fearing the fact that the Chinese government's going to own all this land, pull the rug out from our feet, as it were. And then obviously the Muslim stuff comes from people's fear from the war on terror. And then obviously China's not getting the best rep at the moment with its involvement in Hong Kong, obviously. So we post a lot of stuff about like Hong Kong movement and everything. So I think that's where you'd probably be coming from the China question, is the fact that the Chinese government owned businesses, which is the same thing, buy up huge parcels of farming land in Australia. Yeah.
Okay. Do you make it to the U.S. Very often, if ever?
I've had the distinct pleasure of having traveled to Houston and got to meet the lovely, wonderful men and women who work for the TSA.
Oh, yeah, you've been touched by the TSA. That's a very American experience. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. it was pretty nice. You get off a 16-hour long haul flight, and you get the TSA greeting you on the other end, screaming at you like you're a dog or something. And you're like, come on.
Yeah, I'm told
yeah,
that's what
so
freedom feels like. So enjoy it.
Yeah, and so I've flown through Houston once. I've never actually like spent time in the US. It is on my list to go and see. Number one, because I actually want to shoot a bunch of guns, and in Australia, can't. One of the reasons why I went to New Zealand was to play airsoft, which is in Australia. Plus, I got to shoot some guns before the government in New Zealand banned their guns. But yeah, so I want to go to the States and stuff, and also you guys have a lot of natural beauty and everything. And to come back to your question about what's good about Australia, the land mass itself is beautiful. The beaches are stunning. We have beautiful outback, obviously. The coastline is absolutely stunning, right? The weather here is very nice, very beach weatherish and stuff. So that would be the nice part. Obviously, then the state comes ruins it. So, yeah.
All right, sir. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about or bring up? I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to kind of give us the update on freedom in Australia. It doesn't sound like it's doing too good, but it does sound like there's some hope, and at least we've got some volunteers there, doing the good activism.
Yeah. So when it comes to like, we didn't really touch on unreasonable searches and seizures, obviously. Yeah, you pretty much don't have the right to tell a cop just to piss off like you do in the States. They can search your vehicle and stuff. You really can't say no to that, fortunately. So yeah, basically the police have a lot more power down here than they do in the States. Now, I will say your police are just violent sociopaths, right? Like they're shooting you for anything. Our police can't get away with wasting people as often as your place can. Our place can get away with bashing them, extorting them and stuff like that, but they can't really get away with like just flat out shooting them. The public doesn't buy that like it does in the States, where you guys seem to have a cop shoot someone every day who's eating ice cream in their own home, and then you get food. He shouldn't have been eating ice cream, and you're like,
oh, you noticed that, did you? Yeah, that's a thing here.
So, yeah, our cops are like, they're violent, of course, but they know that they can't kill, but they can still bash you and stuff. Obviously, they can get away with that stuff and extort. And we don't have the kind of Fourth Amendment unreasonable searches and seizures that you guys do in your constitution. And our cops will just walk straight over your rights, right? Like completely and utterly annihilate them when it comes to searching your car and stuff. You can't say no to that. We can't say no to, say, like an RBT. So you guys will have you guys have RBTs, right? In the States, like you guys call them RBTs.
Hey guys,
like
if the stream is hiccuping at all, you can thank Adobe for that. It just decided to update right now without asking. So give me 1 second to correct this. Let me make sure let me try and get the stream back to healthy here. Sorry for the interruption. I don't know. It wouldn't be so hard for these companies to just say, hey, is now a good time to update? Maybe I should wait. All right. Okay. Sorry, what were you saying? Please continue.
So yeah, basically we don't have those kind of protections whatsoever. When it comes to like finances, I know a lot of you guys will probably think about taxes and stuff. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I just killed the return feed. I'm trying to get this going here.
All good.
Yep.
When it comes to like taxes and stuff, we have GST 10% across the board. But then we also have like pretty high income tax, high taxes on basically kind of like, we have sin taxes on, say, like cigarettes and stuff and alcohol. So they're called sin taxes. And then once you add up all your taxes, which is rates, so we have like property taxes, which are what we call rates. Once you add up all the different taxes, I think we figured out there was like 120 different taxes that you pay as an Australian. You're losing 50+% of your income to the state. And you're not really getting much back, to be honest with you. And when it comes to like healthcare, so this is another big one that the US status will use a lot and stuff in their arguments, as they go, oh, but look, Australia's healthcare is free. That is true if you define free as giving half your money to the state every year. But then, so the public healthcare system, we often get told is the best in the world. The Australian public healthcare system is the best in the world. Well, we have issues around waiting periods and stuff, like obviously Canada does as well. So we can have waiting periods up to 5 years to see a specialist. So yeah, don't believe everything that you hear when it comes to the Australian healthcare system. Like basic stuff is, we're honestly, we're pretty decent for basic stuff. Like you need an X-ray a day or two, whatever. But if you actually need a specialist, you're going to be waiting a long time. Education, we go through same thing, kind of deal is year 1 to 12 state school. Then you have your universities, which are generally subsidized by the state. So basically when it comes to what you guys would see as freedom and stuff, Australia really doesn't have any freedom of say constitution. But yeah, the biggest ones are obviously campaign yourself, and you don't have freedom of speech down here, press. So that's kind of a quick rundown on the Australian freedoms. Where I'm trying to relate it back to the constitution, so that way then when this gets seen by statists, they can kind of come across and see where we're coming from, because a lot of statists, they believe that obviously rights the state and come from the constitution. That's obviously not true, hey?
Yeah, okay. Well, if there's anything cool going on, if you got any big news or anything you'd ever like to talk about, consider this an open invitation to return to the show and talk about whatever's going on. I'm fascinated with the country, just I guess because of my upbringing and what I know of it. So I'd be happy to talk with you anytime, especially about any cool, activism, or if you have any cool events coming up, let us know.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you so much for allowing me to talk about our page, the Australian Government Can't Prove That It Exists, and just kind of the activism that we're trying to do down here. And obviously, thank you so much for the activism you guys are doing over there. I mean, with your whole Not Governor campaign, really kind of woke people up to the power of individual consent, which is something we talk about literally every day, obviously, is the power of individual consent. And you've inspired a lot of people around the world who I've talked to and stuff, who have seen your work with Disenthrall, and the messages that you're putting out there and the videos you're putting out there and the quality of your work. So yeah, huge shout out to you and your team. So.
Well, one day I'm going to figure out how to take a compliment. I appreciate you letting me know that. I feel really weird and uncomfortable when people say that stuff. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And so let me just briefly tell you what we have coming up. For those that are watching, we have Feed the Need coming up December 7th in Dallas. This is where we break a whole list of laws to feed the homeless, give them tents to sleep in during the winter. It's gotten very cold here in Dallas all of a sudden. Even in my house, I'm wearing the jacket right now. So if you want to see one of the best examples of street activism in the entire world, where people armed to the teeth break laws against feeding and helping the homeless, in the light of day, in opposition to the police that would enforce such immoral laws. Your chance is coming up December 7th to help and to witness the event. I'm going to be trying to make another video of it this year, but last year I tried to make a video as well, and I just got pulled into actually doing the work and the help there. And so this year I need to find a way to not help. I always feel really awkward, like everyone's doing all this work around me, doing good, passing out the stuff, helping, organizing, and I'm sitting here messing with my cameras. But I realized that the video of the event that we put out a couple of years ago ended up being a really useful thing. And so it's probably a good use of my time to focus on my cameras when I'm at these events. So I'm definitely going to try and do that this year. The next thing that I wanted to announce is Disenthrall actually recorded and produced, thanks in large part to a lot of effort by Kaysen, my partner in victimless crime here at Disenthrall. We just put the wraps on and just finished publishing Larkin's Candles in the Dark seminar online. And the entire thing is up and it's available for purchase. I've lost the ability to talk all of a sudden. because I've been recording Larkin's audiobook all day today, so I've talked a lot. But anyway, so we have Candles in the Dark. It's attendcandles.com is the name is the website. If you want to take Larkin Rose's Candles in the Dark seminar, the entire thing is available online now. I think it's like $75. You get hours and hours of video, and you even get recordings of people using the Candles in the Dark techniques on people that are there. Like actual statists that are brought in, and they get to experiment on them. It's pretty interesting. So dude, it was worth hundreds of dollars when he was only doing it in person. It's definitely worth $75 to get everything without having to travel and have the expense and all that stuff. Plus, I'm pretty sure I don't think he's doing any more of those in the United States, at least. So it's only available, I think, right now on attendcandles.com. Produced and brought to you by Disenthrall. We were freaking proud to help Larkin in that way by producing that content. Just as we are also proud to be continuing work on the Most Dangerous Superstition audiobook that will hopefully be done. My personal goal is by the end of the year. But wow, audiobook performances are a lot of work. So that's coming. We're dropping a video on red flag laws that I think is going to be really cool in the next couple days, hopefully. That'll be really shareable, and it's going to be kind of made for normies. So when you see that video drop, hopefully you can, give that some shares for us and get that out there to the blue-pilled public or whatever. So that's what we have going on. I need to run, so let's end the talk there, guys. Thanks for your crazy awesome participation in the comments. You had a lot of great comments and questions and outrage at the fascism going on in Australia. Ben, thanks I know we had some scheduling difficulties and I had to reschedule because of this medical stuff. So thank you for being patient and coming back on today with us. I really enjoyed it and I look forward to doing it again.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me, Patrick.
All right. Awesome, Ben. Thanks again, guys. Have a great one. We'll talk to you again very soon. We got a lot of content coming out. We're doing a lot of work here. Oh, and I'm really bad at self-promotion. Guys, please check out disenthrall.me/platforms. There's links to our Subscribestar and our Patreon on that page if you want to support this crazy amount of work that we've been up to lately. So that is a thing. All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll talk to you next time.